Hello everyone, it is Matt here from Scoop in Response, and today we are going to be looking at a brand new commander that is coming out with the new Phyrexia set in the commander set. It is Urtet, Remains of Memnarch. So really interesting commander, and at the time of recording we haven't actually gotten an official spoiler just yet, so fingers crossed that you actually see this and I'm not just deleting it down the track. The interesting thing about this commander, ever since Golos was banned, I was a bit disappointed because I used to love playing a Umori Golos and it was terrible, but it was just so much fun to have a deck building restriction like Umori's, and given that you've got a Wooburg artifact creature, there's just not that many of them that are I guess that great for commander. There's quite a few, obviously, fantastic artifact creatures, but it's the Wooburg that's really I guess interesting. And so Umori's ability is it just reduces the chosen type of card by 1 in generic cost, so it's not even that great. But basically what I'm trying to say is this deck is going to be so much better if you build it properly, but if you want to build something fun and silly, then this is the kind of thing that you want to do. So we'll start by having a look at what the commander does. So whenever you cast a Myr spell, create a 1/1 colorless Myr artifact creature token. And at the beginning of combat on your turn, you untap each Myr you control. And then you pay Wooburg and tap to add 3+1 counters to each Myr you control, and you can only activate this during your turn. So basically, we're paying Wooburg to buff all of our dudes. Now, all of these things are like really medium strategies. It's not like we're talking about super powerful stuff. And to be honest, Myrs are a pretty underwhelming I guess tribe. Now you do have a lot of Myrs that are, mana dorks. There's one in every color and colorless and things like that. But for the most part, they're pretty average. But this is the perfect kind of thing that I love experimenting with. I feel like this is a great deck that you can put together and just have on the shelf to play whenever you feel like playing something silly. Yeah, it's really great. So let's check out the list. So first of all, you'll see that we're all artifacts, and because all of our creatures are artifacts, we're limited in what we can choose. So we don't have instants, we don't have sorceries, we don't have non-artifact creatures. We just have artifact creatures, artifacts, and lands. And so there's a lot of really, really bad Myrs. So Myr Mind Servant, for example, is a 1-mana 1/1. You pay 2 and shuffle your library. So I'm not going to go into every single one of the Myrs because there's so many average ones. But yeah, we'll just sort of talk about what all of this extra tapping, all of this extra Myr cast and making those Myr tokens, what we're going to do with that. So yeah, we've got the Myr Mind Servant, the Moon Vessel, Myr Scrappling, Myr Servitor. This is at the beginning of upkeep. If the Myr is on the battlefield, each player returns all cards named Myr Servitor from their graveyard to the battlefield. So this will do nothing in our deck other than trigger the commander's ability. Alpha Myr. Our first non-Myr, we've got Baleful Strix. So Baleful Strix is just an artifact creature that draws a card. And in this kind of deck, we just don't have any ways to draw cards outside of our land base for the most part. So Baleful Strix is really good for something like that. Copper Myr, it's the green mana dork. Core Tapper, this puts charge counters on our artifacts. And there's some synergy with that. We'll go into that a bit more. Aethersworn Canonist, this is like the best one-sided rule of law ever created for our deck. So it's an artifact creature. Each player who has cast a non-artifact spell this turn can't cast additional non-artifact spells. So that's never ever us. So this is like probably one of the strongest cards in the deck. It's just absolutely wild how strong this card is in our deck. Gold Myr's the white dork. We've got a flying Myr. So it's kind of like these are just like really shitty slithers, I guess. Iron Claw, Ichor Claw Myr, sorry, it's an infect Myr, does some stuff. Got the red dork, the black dork. Got Myr Retriever, you return an artifact card from your graveyard to your hand when it dies. You can put Scrap Trawler and Lotus Petal and all of that and put some loops in, but we're not really about that. We're just about casting Myrs for this. Then we've got Myr Sire, Myr Superion, so we can only cast this with the mana generated from our Myrs, so that's kind of funny. Omega Myr, Parcel Myr, Perilous Myr, Plague Myr, Silver Myr, Alloy Myr, Dark Steel Mir, an 3 mana indestructible 0/1 that does literally nothing. It's just hilarious. Knighted Mir does some stuff. Mir Adapter, Mill Galvanizer, Land Shaper. And then we've got Propagator. This is pretty cool. It copies itself, so that's like, you know, kind of cool, I guess. Mir Welder. It's got all activated abilities of all cards exiled with it, so kind of cool. Palladium Mir, just another dork. This one can have flying, and you can sacrifice it to draw. You've got Shimmer Mir, gives things flash. Sun Touched Mir. Joyra's Familiar. This is just another cost reducer. Right, now we're getting into some of the actual cards. So the you know, all of your Mirs, they're just really there. They do incidental stuff. The Lodestone Golem, non-artifact spells cost 1 more to cast. So that's another stacks piece that is just one-sided now. Aethersworn Canonist and the Lodestone Golem both being you know, one-sided because we're never doing anything that isn't artifacts. Lodestone Mir, we've got it. You tap an untapped artifact you control to give it +1/+1. It has trample. So this is kind of like a win con. You can use it to just, you know, tap all of your dudes, and it gets +1/+1. And then, you know, during combat, oops, that's not the right one. During combat, you use, you know, the ability of your commander, and then you basically do it all again. Mir Quadrupod, you switch its power and toughness for 3, real average. And then we've got a few other bits and pieces. So we've got Alabu, Ancient Witness. Gives artifact creatures haste, so it gives all your stuff haste. And when a artifact creature attacks, it'll deal X damage to any target, and you scry X, where X is the number of tapped artifacts you control. So you're going to have lots and lots of tapped things in this deck. You know, if you can utilize the commander's ability and the untaps, all of that, this is kind of like a backup, you know, way to sort of do some serious damage. We've got Blaster, so it has the both sides. It's basically like a weird hardened scales type thing. And you convert it, but it gives all of your artifact creatures and vehicles modular 1, so they come in with a +1 counter on it, so that's pretty cool. Mir Prototype, at the beginning of your upkeep, you put a counter on it, and you know, it can't attack or block unless you pay 1 for each +1. I wouldn't be upset or offended if someone wanted to remove this from the deck, but I just put all of the Mirs I could think of in this. We've got Perennial Behemoth. Now, I said earlier that you know, we don't have ways to draw cards really outside of our lands, and Perennial Behemoth is the first of 3, I guess, Crucible of Worlds style effects that we have, one of them being the actual Crucible of Worlds. So you want to play lands from your graveyard, but we run all of the Horizon lands, and those are the ones that you pay 1 and sacrifice them to draw a card. Now, you can run cycling lands, but the problem is you only get 1 card draw out of them, whereas with all of these other lands, you'll actually get repeated card draw each time you sacrifice them again. Cyberdrive Awakener, this is just insane. It's going to make all of the non-creature artifacts 4/4s, and that's like, I guess, our first real win con. We're going to animate all of our rocks and everything like that to basically slap them. Mir Battlesphere, it makes Mir tokens, and then it gets +X, you know, based on, when it attacks, you may tap X on tap Mir you control. If you do, Battlesphere gets +X/+0 until end of turn and deals X damage to the player or planeswalker it's attacking. So this could be a one-shot kill in some instances, you know, if you have enough tokens, so very sweet. Then we've got Mir Enforcer, it's a big boy with affinity. And then lastly, Thought Monitor, who is just it's a thought cast on a dude, so we can actually play it. So that's all of our, you know, our creatures. The idea is you're just going to want to deploy as many of them as you can, and, you know, just execute, you know, the attack phase and go for gold that way. We'll have a look at our artifacts now. So we've got basically, you know, a really standard setup of rocks. If you don't have some of these cards, you know, this list is like pretty low power and low budget compared to like a lot of the stuff that I put through, but like Mana Crypt in a mostly colorless deck just seems too good. If you don't own one, or you don't want to, you know, sort of put it in, my thoughts on this kind of card in this deck is that because we're actually doing like a reasonably weak strategy overall, it's kind of okay to include these kinds of cards because, you know, the ceiling of, you know, what our deck's gonna do is actually like pretty low. It's pretty lame, but I think it's hilarious at the same time. Expedition map, it's going to search for all of the different lands that we've got. So we've got all of the Urza's lands in there. We've got all of the, you know, Urza Saga, all of the Tron lands, all of that. You know, we're going to do fun stuff with that. And if we can recur this a few times, we're going to be able to, you know, have Tron, things like that. Soul Ring, Arcane Signet, Mind Stone, all of the talismans except for the Jund ones. We cut all 3 of the Jund ones because those are the 3 lowest pips in our deck. Chromatic Lantern is the last rock, I believe, and I'll just run through. We've got Cranial Plating. This is another win con. It gets +1/+0 for each artifact we control. So if we put this on a flyer or an unblockable, it's just insane. You know, it's going to be doing like 20 damage a hit because we just have that many artifacts. Crucible of Worlds to recur our lands. Mere Reservoir. You tap to add mana to your pool, and you can cast Mirrors or activate Mirrors. So super lame. Nettle Cyst. It gets +1/+1 for each artifact and enchantment. So really good. This is a new one that's just come out, that's just coming out in the new set. It's Conduit of Worlds, so much like Crucible of Worlds, this is a Conduit of Worlds. Choose target non-land permanent card in your graveyard. If you haven't cast a spell this turn, you may cast that card. If you do, you can't cast additional spells this turn. Activate as a sorcery. So basically, this is for when our hand is empty. This is a pseudo card draw type effect, but it also lets us play lands from the graveyard too. So I think this is one of the coolest cards that's getting released in Phyrexia, but yeah, really excited to play around with this one. Another source of card advantage is Mystic Forge. We're just going to be playing artifacts off the top of our deck, or colorless non-land cards too. Shurikai, another card draw engine as well. Really, really good card and card advantage engine. Coat of Arms. Each creature gets +1/+1 for each creature in play that shares a creature type with it. So if we have 10 mirrors, they all get +10/+10. Insane. Very cool card in this deck. It turns all of our super medium mirrors into huge, chunky, thick boys. We've got Mirror Matrix, which is indestructible because, you know, why wouldn't it be? And then all mirror get +1/+1. And you can pay 5 to put a mirror artifact creature token into play. Absolute value house in this one. And lastly, we've got Mere Turbine. So Mere Turbine, you tap it to put an artifact creature Mere onto the battlefield, and then you can tap 5 and search for a Mere card. Very, very cool. Lastly, we'll have a look at the lands for the list. So we have Ancient Den, Artifact Land, so very, very useful for that. Ancient Tomb, City of Brass, Command Tower, Darksteel Citadel, Exotic Orchard, Field of the Dead, Fiery Islet, Forbidden Orchid, Forest, Gemstone Caverns, Horizon, Canopy, Island, Mana Confluence, Nurturing Peatland, Plains, Roadside Reliquary, Cedar Synod, Sunbaked Canyon, and Swamp. We've got Tarnished Citadel, Treasure Vault, Urza's Factory, Urza's Mine, Urza's Power Plant, Urza's Saga, Urza's Tower, Urza's Workshop, and Urza's Hairdresser. And Waterlog Grove. So basically, I guess most people are going to be familiar with the Tron lands and Urza's Saga. Urza's Workshop is really cool. It's like the 4th Tron land, I guess, except way stronger. Yeah, you need to have 3 or more artifacts to activate it. So yeah, I mean, you can chuck a Mishra's Workshop if you own one in the deck. There's also plenty of like premium mana rocks that you could stick in this too. Candelabra, all of that stuff. We're not here to have a serious deck. We want to have something that's really fun. Roadside Reliquary is really sweet. So it's another card draw, land, and you can actually draw 2 cards off of it if you have your Urza's Saga as well. So that's the only time you can really get the 2 cards out of it, because we don't have any other enchantments. You could, if you wanted to, play something like the Spear of Heliod, because that's an artifact enchantment, or Nalea's Bow is an artifact enchantment if you wanted to go down that route. I think it's just too fringe of a synergy to include just for it. We've got all of those, Rainbow Lands and the Ancient Tomb, Rainbow Lands for fixing all the stuff that we need, and Ancient Tomb just for tapping for 2. If you have a City of Traders, all of that kind of stuff, you can include it as well. But realistically, this is just about having fun and, getting some really cool artifacts into play that you don't get to play with very often. Field of the Dead's pretty sweet because, we don't really have many color restrictions. We're going to have, nothing but unique lands to play as well. So, yeah, that is pretty well the deck. So, Urtet is like really cool, in terms of being able to, I guess, fuel the Mir tribe for the first time. I guess you could say that, Morophon could have done it beforehand, but this is more realistic in what you want to actually be doing when you're playing this kind of deck. I just think this is a whole heap of fun. You're going to make a much better deck if you cut Umori and you don't want to limit yourself to just the Umori type build. You know, there's going to be so many great things you could be doing to increase the number of tokens with all of your enchantments, everything like that. But yeah, this is the direction that I wanted to take it, and I feel like it's probably not something that, you know, a lot of players would think of straight away, but you're definitely going to have a lot of fun if you put this together. I'm 100% certain of that, because yeah, what's better than making a whole bunch of chunky boys, you know, and swinging and attacking each turn. So yeah, thank you so much for checking out the video. If you like what you see here, be sure to give us a like, all of that kind of stuff, and don't forget to eat your vegetables and hit the sub button. That's it for now. I'll see you next time. Bye bye.